Let's talk to Fraser Myers, Deputy Editor at Spiked. Hello, Fraser.
Morning. Great
Morning.
to see you, Mike.
You're not an economist, are you, by any chance?
No, not an economist. Wouldn't claim to be.
Excellent. Good. Let's talk about blasphemy then instead, because yesterday Tahir Ali got up in the Houses of Parliament and the House of Commons specifically, Labour MP, and said this.
November marks Islamophobia Awareness Month. Last year, the United Nations Human Rights Council adopted a resolution condemning the desecration of religious texts, including the Quran, despite opposition from the previous government. Acts of such mindless desecration only serve to fuel division and hatred within our society. Will the Prime Minister commit to introducing measures to prohibit the desecration of all religious texts and the prophets of the Abrahamic religions?
Well, can I agree with him that desecration is awful and I think should be condemned across the House? We are, as I said before, Mr. Speaker, committed to tackling all forms of hatred and division, including, of course, Islamophobia in all of its forms.
Is that a sort of non-denial denial that he's not saying he won't bring in a blasphemy law? What's he up to?
It's extraordinary. I mean, you're listening to that, you wonder what century you're living in. Essentially, someone standing in the House of Commons calling for the return of almost medieval laws around blasphemy. OK, he's using the modern language of Islamophobia and hatred, but what he's really talking about is saying that people who desecrate the Quran, people who insult the religion of Islam, should be punished by the law. It's absolutely extraordinary. And for Keir Starmer, he only needed to say one word, and that word was no. The fact that he couldn't use that word is really, really chilling and alarming. Someone who is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in the 21st century ought to be aware that we do not want blasphemy laws, that no religion should be above criticism, that free speech is a fundamental value of ours. And the fact that it didn't even come to him at all. It was not barely even an afterthought. The worrying thing is that Labour is going down this route of wanting to restrict so-called Islamophobia. Now, you know, everyone is opposed to racism against Muslims, and if you see it and hear it, you should call it out and you should challenge it. But when this actually was a very clear illustration of what is meant by Islamophobia, it means Islamic blasphemy laws. If you make Islamophobia illegal, then you make it difficult to challenge Islam, aspects of the religion, certain religious practices, but even Islamist extremism. You know, that's the situation we could end up in, where we would find it difficult, say, after an Islamist terror attack, to criticise the perpetrator. That's the route that Keir Starmer really wants to go down.
I mean, we're sort of already halfway there, aren't we? Because, I mean, we have conversations all the time about, you know, the tiptoeing around subjects that people do, whether they're politicians or members of the media or, you know, just ordinary people. And we've also got the Labour government looking very enthusiastic about hate crime and bringing in all sorts of other rules which will apply to you if you say something that somebody doesn't like. You know, this whole non-crime hate incident and all that. You know, it's a very sort of slippery slope, it seems to me, that we appear to be on right now.
That's absolutely right. I mean, there are all kinds of laws that do already restrict what we can say. And there's, as you say, there's the informal kind of blasphemy codes with people walking on eggshells around any discussion about Islams or involving Muslims. And also, you know, there have been many incidents in this country where you see a kind of informal blasphemy code or informal blasphemy law being imposed, such as the Batley Grammar School incident where a teacher showed his pupils a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, a perfectly legitimate thing to do in a religious studies class. But then he has been hounded out of his job into hiding. There's no protection for him. You know, the law has done nothing to come after the people who have terrorised him, who have made his life impossible. So again, we see the imposition of an informal blasphemy law. Similarly, a year after that, in Wakefield, a group of boys scuffed a copy of the Quran.
I remember.
They were suspended from school. They were widely condemned. The local police arranged a meeting so that the child and his mother could be berated by the local Muslim community. So, you know, even if Keir Starmer doesn't have to agree to a formal blasphemy law, we actually have that situation really anyway in the country informally. What we need from a leader is to push back against the restrictions that already exist, not agree to more restrictions.
But that's the problem, isn't it? Because he doesn't clearly want to do that. You can see he was looking quite uncomfortable yesterday answering that question, and he made this kind of very banal statement about how we abhor all hate and discrimination. Well, great, you know, but that doesn't really help us. It doesn't mean anything. Labour are still in thrall, aren't they, to the Muslim vote, effectively, and they're frightened of upsetting them.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think on this specific issue, there is a nervousness around criticising Islam, but also Keir Starmer just doesn't believe in free speech at all. You know, and this goes way back through his career. Even when he was Director of Public Prosecutions, he was the one pursuing, people may remember, the infamous Twitter joke trial, where someone tweeted a joke about them blowing up their local airport if they didn't sort out the queues.
It was Nottingham, I think, wasn't it?
It was in Nottingham, yeah. And Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions who pursued that trial against the grain of public opinion. So I think he's long had an authoritarian streak. He's not someone who particularly cares for free speech, defending free speech. And as you say, Labour in general, as well as, you know, wanting to restrict Islamophobia, being aware of wanting to protect the feelings of the Muslim community, in general, they want to increase, you know, the scope of hate crime laws, non-crime hate incidents. Everything is looking bad for free speech when it comes to this government. All the indicators are going in the wrong direction. Yeah,
absolutely right. The trouble with Keir Starmer is he wants to legislate on everything practically, and that seems to be the issue. Fraser, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Fraser Myers, Deputy Editor at Spiked Online.